Welcome back to another SwansCast podcast, and Lee is finally back after a couple of weeks away from the podcast, gallivanting across Europe, a couple of trips you've been on.
Yeah, good to be back. Though, to be honest, it is nice going away, but it's taken it out of me. I'm too old for it now. I went to did the World Cup in Nice, and we went to Nice. That took it out of me for about 2 weeks because that was a heavy weekend.
Yeah, so we've both been away, had some time away where we watched some Rugby World Cup games. So you saw Wales against Portugal, yeah?
Yeah.
I saw Wales Australia, so I think I'm going to get the one for the memories a little bit more there, because that was a pretty nice game. Not that it came to anything. Obviously, Wales losing in the quarterfinals after so much promise of group stage action. It didn't look like world beaters necessarily, but I thought they'd have enough to beat Argentina and progress to the semi-final, which is something I didn't expect before going into the competition, to be honest. I thought group stages would have been a challenge.
Yeah, I think you picked the right game, didn't you? I think you got it right, that one.
Yeah, well, we got the City pack, so we stayed in Lyon for a week. So we saw also New Zealand against Italy, which, with your Italian connections, I'm sure you loved that game.
That was, Well, you saw plenty of tries in that one. That was
plenty of tries. But I'll be honest, though, being there live, as much as it's like nice to see a lot of tries, nice to see the All Blacks play, it was good to see the haka. By half time, you kind of switched off a bit, ready to go home, because it wasn't really a game. You're going out there for the competition, and it was all hyped up that Italy was going to actually do something. They've actually.
It's better in the stadium, isn't it, in the rugby, when it's like a tight game. You can imagine what the atmosphere would have been like for like the Ireland New Zealand game.
And I don't know if it was the same for you down in Nice when you went to the match, but getting to the stadium was an effort. So when the kickoffs at 9 o'clock, I was ready to go just to avoid the hassle. I think it took us like an hour and a half to get out after the game, 11 o'clock-ish.
The stadium in Nice is not like in the centre. It was a bit like out, so you had to get like a tram out there, and it was literally just like one tram in, one tram out, absolutely packed with fans, like you said. Because it was like, I guess we were a little bit lucky because our kickoff was like 4:45, so 5:45 out there French time, and then trying to get back into the city after the game was carnage. But it was all right. It was a good trip.
Actually, the New Zealand game was earlier. It wasn't 9 o'clock. No, it was. Sorry. The other game I saw was Uruguay against Namibia. That wasn't 9 o'clock. So the 3 games, 2 of them were 9 o'clock. But yeah, we had the same though. Lyon's it's a big city. I don't know if anyone's ever been there. Where we were staying, kind of near the centre, like a half-hour, 40-minute walk, I think, to the centre. Although the centre's quite big, there's different areas. The centre's not necessarily where all the shops are, but there's a lot of bars, and fan zone was there. A lot of other things, and then the shop's a little bit further away. But there's a subway system, there's a metro, so it's quite easy to get around. You've got the tap and go like they have in London. But we had to get from where we were staying in a hostel because it was quite expensive to get hotels. So we thought we'd save some money on a hostel. Personally, never again. It was an experience, and I've done it, so whatever. But I had a lot of bites. I've seen there's a bed bug epidemic in France as well, apparently, so that would explain the bites. But not the most pleasant experience. But we had to get a tube into the centre, another tube to where the tram station is, and then a tram to the stadium, because it's literally on the outskirts. So say London's got like the M25 that goes around the outside. I don't think there's one that goes all the way around the outside of the city, but along the top there's one that kind of goes around the perimeter of Lyon, and the stadium is essentially on the perimeter up there, so a little bit of a distance. I think it was a 3-hour walk from where we were, so bit of an effort. And then the first game wasn't too bad. We managed to get on a tram, got on the wrong tram. This was after the Wales game. I mean, it's fine because you won and smashed Australia, so the songs were loud on the trams on the way back, but we ended up in the middle of nowhere because we got on the wrong tram and had to find our own way back to where we were. Luckily, the subway was still open, but it was quite late. And then after the New Zealand game, it was like they kind of learnt lessons from earlier in the week, because they were staggering out of the stadium. As you go up to the Lyon Stadium, they've got 2 big ramps that come down to where the trams are. And they had police cordons at intervals in lines across the ramps, basically. letting a certain amount of people into the next zone, if you like, each time. And it probably took us about an hour to get out of the stadium and onto the tram. We ended up skipping the trams, getting a bus, and yeah, that was about a half-hour drive into where we needed to get. So long story short, bit of an effort, but I enjoyed it.
I don't think we had it as bad in Nice to you, to be honest, because as like I said, it was one tram in, one tram out. But then coming back, even though it was a bit of a trek out, they put on like extra buses because the trams was full. The trams were full. And then they put on all like extra coaches to get people back into the city centre. So it was like it was a bit far out, but it was easy. Like it didn't take us hours to get back home. I mean,
well, they kind of had both systems, I guess. It was buses and trams, but there was 3 different trams that went to 3 different places. So there's 3 different queues for that. Yeah, and the trams were constant. Like they'd fill one, and there was another one there. So there was a lot. You know, they have a good system, I would say, in terms of public transport. I think, you know, based on what's going on in Wales at the moment with the whole 20-mile-an-hour thing and. Which look, if that's something they want to implement, I think one of the arguments is, well, give us another option, which I don't think there is another option at the moment in Wales, especially.
I don't know how we've got onto this, but I've been around, like you said, I've been on a few trips this year around Europe, and the transport's so much better.
Well, this is what I was going to say.
And it was so much easier to get around.
Yeah.
So they had a tram system as well. The tram in Nice was good, even though like they had a major event on. It was busy, but it was fine. And then I was in Italy last week, and they're the same. Their trains and the roads have been mental. But like
a tram's a good intercity, like hop on, hop off kind of transport system. Same as a metro. I'm not saying it's easy to build a metro everywhere or subway everywhere, but there's nothing. The buses don't even work properly down here. They're not reliable. No. They you know, they've actually cancelled bus services in Swansea since the 20-mile-an-hour came in, which is like you're reducing it to make people use their cars less, but then you're putting less public transport on. I'm just saying, and the link is just because obviously that's relatable to Swansea, but you go to these places like France and even Birmingham in the UK, for example, I've got a tram system, and we went to West Brom and you could see the tram line running up there, and it's like they've got car parks all the way up the tram line. You can park in. They've got a congestion zone charge in Birmingham, but it's easy to get into Birmingham City by another means. And I just think Wales is lacking, and to introduce a policy like that, I understand people saying, "Oh, it's not a big deal. It's just a speed limit drop." Yeah, I get it. But the reason they're doing it is to, you know, environment pollution, stop people using their cards, and to prevent accidents. We'll offer another alternative, and it wouldn't be so bad. Anyway. That was a tangent. I wanted to say, in terms of linking it to football, this talking about France, the stadiums as well. So I don't know what it was like in Nice. What was the capacity?
Well, I'm not sure. I want to say about 50 maybe.
And I'm going to 50,000, I think.
I don't know if it's that much, mind, but it's a pretty big stadium.
I think, I'll Google it actually in a sec. But what was the sort of, what's the word, food and drink sort of options and variety like? Because I just think, I've been to Plymouth as well, and I will talk more about this conversation later, but I think we could have a conversation about Swansea, and Swansea City Stadium can do so much more with their food and drink offering, or their consumable offering at the stadium.
You know my thoughts on our stadium.
I'm not on about cardboard pints now.
No, not that anyway. Just everything in general is just crap in our stadium. I'm sorry to say, everything is just absolute rubbish. From the paper cups to the food, everything is just absolute rubbish. 45,000 apparently in Nice, but
OL is 59,000, so quite big stadiums.
Yeah, I really like that Nice stadium. It's a bit out of the way, but it's class. They've got like you go in and you go up the steps, and it's got like an area around the stadium on like another level up, where they had like outside, they had like loads of bars and restaurants outside, and then you could go inside as well, where there was bars and food. So it kind of like dispersed the crowd a bit, but it was good because loads of people were outside, because it was quite nice when we were in these.
Yeah.
And like there was good atmosphere, and it was easy to get food and drink. Like literally just get a pint like straight away if you needed it, because I know the World Cup was on, so they're probably prepared, but still it was well run.
No, I agree. It was so you'd even look at a big queue and it wouldn't take that long. There was food and drink all the way around the outside. They didn't have restaurants and bars because it was kind of like, it's sort of built in an industrial sort of thing, like where not so much Liberty is in a shopping centre, retail park, I guess Liberty is, but similar where there's not really anything around. So they kind of brought the stuff in, but there's a big concrete concourse around the outside of the stadium. So they had all the food trucks and portable bars and all that set up, and toilets all around the outside, which I think that's a really good thing, like underappreciated thing, where they have the outdoor urinals, for example. That means that people don't have to rush to go into the stadium. They can have a couple of drinks outside, and it's just, you don't even have to queue to go to the toilet, which I thought was a really, it's a good thing to bring into this sort of thing. If you want to control the environment, make it safe and enjoyable, and put stuff there for the fans, not just a fan zone, but all the way around the outside. They had stuff going on, and
the fan
options
zone
as well.
That was the same. That was well run.
Yeah.
The fan zone, like in the centre, away from the stadium as well. They were the same. They had the outdoor toilets, and the bars and everything were all well run.
But yeah, so like options of food as well. It wasn't just all the same stuff.
Yeah.
And I just think the only complaint I had was there was only one drink option, and I guess it's because of the sponsorship. But you could only have the one beer. What was it? Asahi?
Asahi, yeah, I don't mind it. I like an Asahi.
I wasn't a massive fan. I don't usually drink beer anyway, but I got used to drinking it and could enjoy it while we were on the trip. But that one wasn't my favourite, I'll be honest.
It's better than a Madry and a paper cup anyway, I'll tell you that. Yeah, but why?
Well,
but that's another point. I know I go on about all the time, but everywhere you go, they give you those plastic cups, don't they? Like you had in the.
They had them at Plymouth as well, and it said like home park on it with a Plymouth badge.
Everywhere you go seems to have the plastic cups, but they're not like the rubbish plastic, are they? They're like they're
reusable.
Ones.
They just stick them in the dishwasher and use them again.
Yeah, but we still got the rubbish cardboard.
Yeah, I guess you'd imagine the one-time investment of the plastic cups should be cheaper than the cardboard, because as much as they're recyclable and good in that way, you still got to buy more. Whereas the plastic ones, they're recyclable in the fact that they're reusable. So why wouldn't you not make that investment and encourage fans to use that? If if you live local, you could take it home and bring it back, and maybe like what they were doing in the World Cup, they'd knock €2 off your drink if you brought the cup back.
Yeah, they do that. They like in a lot of places they go now, like the cricket and stuff. You just buy the cup and then you either get your money back or like the beer's cheaper. Yeah, when you take the cup back. But
yeah,
I don't know how we got onto this.
I just think it's
showing our age now.
We're talking about. I guess we both went to the World Cup. It's nice to talk about. I know it's not football related, but I think it's interesting conversation, and you can bring some of it back to relate it to. I guess what we have.
It's a good comparison because I think the stadium is absolutely crap. I thought it before, and now I went to sticking to the football as well. I went to see Napoli play, didn't I, when I was in Italy? That was a lot different to watching a game.
So just to clarify, when I said Lee was doing a European tour, he went to the World Cup in France and he's been to Italy. That's why he's not been on the podcast for a month. So we had a week off last week. Worked because it was international break, but he was in Italy, so it was partly the reason.
It was international break for me as well, going away.
Yeah.
It was class. So yeah, I went to see Napoli, and it's so different to watching a game over here. My God, it's like
rowdy.
People think though, it's. I know, like they got that reputation where it's like, oh, it's really rough, and it's not. It's like there was loads of families there, and you've got either end of the ground where you've got like the ultras, and they create such a good atmosphere, I will say. But it's like it's safe. There's loads of people there with families and kids, and that was different because they've got like a concourse bit underneath, but then the people come around the stadium, like they come around the seats, and they're like, "Oh, do you want to drink? Do you want to drink?" And you're like, obviously you can drink while you're watching the game out there, which you can't do over here, so that's different. But they would there's people walking around with like the massive backpacks,
Yeah, they had that in the World Cup, didn't they? Where they have them big like Ghostbuster backpacks with
yeah, like that, and they're coming round and it's just so easy to get a drink. And
but there's
better than what we got.
The bottom line is, right, I guess in some way the American owners have made improvements with some of the matchday offering and commercialization of the stadium and what's around the stadium and some of the stuff that they have brought in. Some of it is better, okay, since they've taken over. It used to be quite basic before, and it has been stuff improved and implemented. And you're saying they're trying this the machine system where you can order on the screen. Like, maybe it's not set up the best way, but the idea of what it could bring, I guess, should be better if it's done correctly. I just think there's so, and you'd think that the American owners would be more on the ball with this because they're business people first and foremost. There's just so much more they could do. And I think I saw it in the Rugby World Cup, and that was one thing. But then I saw more at Plymouth as well, who've just come up from League One with a smaller stadium, an older stadium. And just as much as the ground itself, maybe the Swansea.com, I would say, is a nicer ground. I feel like it felt a bit better being around there because I could go to that stadium a bit earlier and enjoy myself. I just go to the Swansea Stadium for kick-off. There's not a reason to go there earlier. And they could do so much more with the transport, with the food. The transport, I know it's not necessarily limited to what the club can do, but there's that train station in Lando. We're talking about tram systems. Why can't they work something out there? A direct link into town where easy access to the stadium on match days. So much potential for that. And then you've got the entire outside of the stadium. There's a lot of space there. They could do so much more with portable bars and food places. There's not really anything, is there? Maybe one or two. There's no bars from what I'm aware.
I think we're way behind on that. Not hospitality as such, but all the food and drink outlets. I don't know whether they've sort of accepted that it's a lost cause. There's a lot of competition. You've got Nando's.
I don't think there is though. Like
KFC across the road, and you've got Harvester and what was Frankie and Ben.
Yeah, okay, they've got the competition of those places, but
there's a lot of pubs in the Lando area as well, which people
20,000 people though. 20,000.
Yeah,
people
I know. I think they still
max
got it wrong.
The local places like Nando's and that are not going to want the football crowd. Let's be honest, they're going to want to fill up, and there's only a limit they're going to have. But I just think that they could. I don't know. There's a missed opportunity of financial gain, and you think the American owners would be all over that. I wouldn't mind the fact that they're monetizing that side of it if it gives us a better experience. I think that's the bottom line. What I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think it's rubbish.
The food that I had in Plymouth, right? It was chips, loaded fries with cheese, barbecue sauce, pulled pork, and some sort of mayo and caramelized onions on top. £8, big portion, quite filling, but outside the ground, banging.
Yeah,
what do we sell? A rusty burger.
We went to Brighton, didn't we? And they haven't got much around, but then they've got an outdoor bit which is full of different street food things. And the best, this is probably a good debate to have, but the best place we went for food was Hull. They had but I was just in the stadium and they had a big street food selection, and they had some lovely grub in there, some stunning stuff. Our food's just absolutely crap.
Our food's not even good, and you've got to queue for more than half time to actually get something half the time. If you don't go down 10 minutes early.
Oh well, yeah, but they brought the screens in to fix that problem. It doesn't work.
But I feel obviously they've got a capacity issue, and I guess opening the outside areas would fix that. We went to Bristol City on the away end, and they've got several bars in the away end concourse of Bristol City, but then you can go outside and there's several more bars. You literally didn't have to queue. You literally walked up and got a drink.
Yeah.
And it's because they had enough available. You go to some other grounds. I think it's Watford. They don't actually have you can't buy alcohol in the away end in Watford because there's not enough space. And I don't think we've got that problem whether we haven't got space. We have got space. Open up the outside. They've got fences in a lot of the areas now. Maybe they need to fence off a little bit more of some parts of it to be able to make it viable all the way around the stadium. But I feel like that's an investment opportunity the club need to look at to make the matchday experience better. They keep banging on about the matchday experience and how they've improved it. I still think there's a long way to go.
I think it's got worse. I got to be honest. I go every week and nothing entices me to go to the stadium early. I'm always in just before kick-off. I'll go we go to the local pubs and stuff, and if I can, I never eat in the stadium because it's just just awful food, awful experience. And that thing with the screen, I'll go back to it now because it's a good idea because then you can do. I've learned now you go in and you can do pre-order for half time, so you go in. Even if I go in just before kick-off, I go up to the screen, I do pre-order for half-time, pint, whatever. If I do have something to eat, pint and whatever, keep my ticket. Then I go downstairs, and then theoretically my pint will be ready for me. I used to be before they had the screens in. I used to be able to get 2 pints at half-time. Maybe I'd go down maybe when it's just like injury time, and then by the time the referee blows his whistle, I'll go under, get a pint, drink it, and then I'll probably have time to have another one. Now with the screen, I can only just about get 1 pint in, because you would think that you can see, you'd have the data to be like, right, okay, this many.
I need 100 pints for half time, so I need to get them ready. Yeah.
No, it doesn't work like that. You still got to queue up at the bar and go, I've paid for a pint, and then they go, right, I'll go get a pint. And then the one time I ordered food recently, I think it was the last home game? Was it when were we home last? It seems like it's been ages.
It have been a while. I'll get a few now. Was it Norwich?
Norwich. That was it. Norwich. Yeah, it was midweek when I rushed straight in from work, so I was starving. So I ordered like chips for half time. So I thought, oh, my food's gonna be ready, my beer's gonna be ready. I'm clever now. I've done the order for half time. I went down, and then they were all just standing there like, oh yeah, we're just waiting for the chips to cook and the food to cook, and everybody was just waiting. So why is it not ready?
You're going to have an influx of people, like regardless of whether they've ordered it or not. You should, I think you should make the assumption of having at least some food ready for half-time whistle.
But what is the point in ordering food and drink for half-time if it's not ready at half-time? Those screens, like I said, it just makes you queue twice. You queue up for the screen, and then you queue up to tell them what you've bought, and then they get it.
No, it's ridiculous, and obviously I feel like the idea is good, but it's not executed at all as it should be, and that's an issue, and that needs to get sorted really. But anyway, let's actually move on from this debate. I think it's a good debate. This is an international break, so there wasn't actually any Swans matches last week. We have got Plymouth game to talk about. And obviously we've got football coming up this week to talk about as well. 2 matches, which we'll go on to a bit later on. But let's kick it off with last week on the pitch. But before we do get into it, I'm going to plug, we have just released the Leicester City preview video, which I'm joined by a fellow podcast on that as well. So go check that out. I would really appreciate the support, the subscribes. We have had a few this week, so thank you very much for everyone that has been supporting, as always, and following us on Spotify as well. The numbers are doing quite well. Obviously, we've joined TalkSport, so, onwards and upwards. We've got a new fan hub, which we've been part of for a while, but a new fan hub sort of, I don't know how to put it really. We'll be doing some exciting things with Fan Hub going forward in the next couple of weeks, so keep an eye out for those. I know people will do the predictions and stuff, but maybe some more unique stuff to us will be coming with that, so check that out. I'm quite excited about what that could bring. But yeah, so if I could ask everyone a favour that's watching this video, click that thumbs up underneath Lee, because that really helps us grow and shows us to more people. And there will also be another preview video at the end of this week. I'll probably release it after the Leicester game, just to move on from that one. And Watford, it's already been recorded. I think it's quite, for me, I enjoyed it. The lads from the Watford podcast we had on are a bit of a laugh. There's 3 of them. They are a proper laugh, to be fair to them. And I enjoyed that video, so check that out as well when that is released later this week. But let's go on to last week on the pitch, which is really last week, but the week before on the pitch. And Swansea played Plymouth away. So as I said, I went down. Lee was in Italy, so he didn't join us. But myself and John went down.
I was watching in the airport, funny enough.
Yeah? On the way out? So
on the way out, so I was in the airport watching it on my phone.
I saw a couple of messages I didn't reply to because obviously I was there. But good game, I thought. I really enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed the experience. As I said, I've already talked about the ground, so I'm not going to focus on that really. Decent little stadium, actually.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the fans are quite good as well in terms of like the atmosphere they brought. It was quite full. I don't know if it was a sellout, but they obviously just come up from League One, so it's a big deal for them right now. But yeah, they're doing well. I guess it's one of the biggest clubs down that way themselves. We got down there Exeter, which are obviously Exeter's lower, probably the biggest club in the area now in terms of league position. And obviously Morgan Whittaker and Luke Cundle as former Swans players playing for Plymouth in that game. The Swansea curse did return, but maybe not in the way that most people predicted. I didn't realise there was such a big debate going into the game, Whittaker versus Liam Cullen, but that seemed to be a massive deal on Twitter afterwards. People saying that we made the right decision, but I didn't realise it was like such a big deal that it was one or the other. I guess it's because Whittaker went on loan and Cullen didn't.
Yeah, I think that became the decision in the end, didn't it? Because I remember when they both went on loan to Lincoln, wasn't it, at one point as well?
Yeah.
They both went on loan to the same team, which was funny. So I do think that they were competing for the same spot, and obviously it looks like Cullen. We were eager to keep Cullen over Whittaker, so it's probably just a little fan built up rivalry there. But I don't know. Cullen seemed like he was up for it though. Seemed like he was really up for that game.
Yeah, I did
well.
say I thought he had a bit of a didn't do the most in the first half, but he definitely made up for it. But he's out of position, I guess, playing on the right wing as well. It's not his position, and he works hard. He never stops working hard. Anyway, going into the game, Luke Cundle opened the scoring. Now, I thought Swansea actually played okay in the first half, and before Plymouth scored, thought it was quite an even match. I would say Plymouth were the better team for the first half on the balance of it. Probably did deserve to be 1-0 up. However, I just want to make this point because it frustrated me a little bit being in the away end. The fans were backing the team quite vocally at 0-0. Yeah, we were quite happy with what we were seeing. As soon as it goes 1-0, you'd think you've watched a completely different game up to this point, because the attitude of much of the vocal fans shifted dramatically. And I understand nobody wants to go behind. Like, I get that. It's not nice. You don't want to go behind. You're away from home. But it's early days. When did he score? In like the 30-something minutes, was it? Or 20? Let's have a look. So he scored 18th, so quite early. Early in the game, 18th minute, yeah? He scores the goal. Plenty of time to come back. But like, the language that was coming out at the players was absolutely ridiculous. Away from home, going 1-0 down. I personally think. And I don't think we necessarily had the best first half, but I also don't think it was awful. I don't know if you saw much of it, but of what your opinions are of us in the first half. But
yeah, I agree with you. What I saw a bit, I was trying to watch that and the Wales Georgia game as well. I was trying to watch a bit of everything in the airport, but it was I think the first half was fairly even. I thought Plymouth probably just edged it, as you'd expect when you go away, and we're talking about a Plymouth side to put like 6 past Norwich.
Their home form is very good.
Yeah, they're a good side at home. This was the game where I actually thought that our good run was probably going to come to an end. I thought we'd had a really good sort of couple of weeks and couple of games where we were really riding that high. And I thought Plymouth away is a bit of a banana skin. They're playing really well, and I thought a point there would be brilliant. So when we went 1-0 down, I thought as expected, it was going to be a hard game. So I'm surprised that you said there was unrest.
I guess there's a couple of vocal fans, but
I think it happens. It happens, doesn't it? When you go 1-0 down, it's like, oh, everything's rubbish. We're rubbish. You're rubbish. You then someone misplaces a pass, and it's like, oh my god, the worst player ever. We're 1-0 down.
But it's the comments. It was like people saying, "Oh, they're lazy. They're not working hard. If they don't want it enough, you're not fighting for it. You don't want this." And it's like, no, that's clearly not the case. The other teams just scored. They got a bit of momentum, and maybe they are getting a bit quicker at some of the balls at the moment. We can't say they're not trying. They're clearly trying. I think it was.
It takes an even better performance to then turn that around, though, when you're 1-0 away, 1-0 down away from home. That's
what I was going to go on to next. But I also want to say, in regards to Luke Cundle's goal, it was a very good finish. But element of luck, I will say, right, in terms of how the ball fell to him. But for me, it's a goalkeeping mistake.
Oh, yeah, 100%, yeah. I agree with that.
And I'm not sure that has been... Look, Carl Rushford has a really good game. He made some really good saves in the game as well. But I don't know how if it's been highlighted that much that ultimately it was his fault for that goal. I believe there was a defender behind him that was going to clear the ball, which is fine if Rushworth wants to go down to make the save, but he doesn't really make the save. He just kind of punches it away very, very poorly into the dangerous area, and it does kind of ricochet, luckily, into Cundle's path, but it's because of the poor shot stop that was really. And shot stopping's been one of his strengths, but I think it's fair to say that
he's been amazing.
It was a mistake.
Shot stopping. I think he's made some unbelievable saves, like when we beat Millwall away, and so he's kept, he's probably kept won us games really. But I'm Yeah, I'm fully on board with you on that one. It's
Yeah.
probably like goalkeeping 101. You just do not punch the ball into that area, into the middle of the box, to back in towards the middle of the box. Like, you're asking for trouble. It is lucky that it falls to him, but you're asking for it when you punch it into that area.
He's always going to be more often if it falls to someone running onto the ball than who's have to change direction to go back and make a block.
Yeah.
But, he's young and he's going to make their mistakes. We're all aware of that. We had to
We'll give him that one for all the big saves he's made, to be fair.
Yeah, and he made several big saves after this.
Yeah.
So he picked himself straight up from it and had a big contribution into getting a win afterwards. And ultimately, I would still say had a really good game overall. But I think it is fair to point that out, that, again, linking to the comments, I think a lot of the fans were saying about the team not wanting it. It was a goalkeeper error for me that allowed us to go 1-0 down. But yeah, we went in half-time, and I don't know what he said at half-time. I don't even think he necessarily changed too much, but it was a very complete performance in the second half. Now, I think Plymouth had a chance right at the start, and they did have one or two opportunities during. You'd expect them to. They are the home team. They're quite good attacking team, especially at home. And, Morgan Whittaker got a hat-trick against Norwich the other day, didn't he, as you mentioned, where they scored 6 goals. But we largely kept him quiet, and you know what, he had so much grief at the start of the game. I was like, it's written in the stars, he's gonna score, because they were absolutely pelting him, the fans. Like, he only left because he wasn't good enough, basically, is what they were singing. He left because he wasn't good enough. But when that comes off and he doesn't score, you feel good about it, I guess. And I think it was one of his worst games, and his stats and
I think
score on SofaScore back that up.
Before the game, I was more focused on Whittaker, thinking, Whittaker's definitely going to score. I kind of forgot about Cundle. And then I was like, I forgot about him as well. And he
Cundle had a good game, to be fair.
I liked Cundle when he was here, to be fair.
I think we underutilised him based on what he's showing this season, but maybe that's the development that he had last year is allowing him to do that, I think he scored 4 goals for Plymouth.
I'm happy that, Whittaker, and we'll see now when they come down here, when they come down to us.
Yeah, so there was one of their wing backs that was causing us all sorts of problems that got taken off, and that was good for us. I don't know if it was Mumba. I think it was Mumba up against Josh Key in the first half. It was causing us a bit of issues. Yeah. But Josh Key came out a different player in the second half. Anyway, let's talk about some of the positives from Swansea. So the first goal, now Jamie Patterson had a massive hand in 2 of the goals. So the first one was an assist for him. And now it looks like, when we're kind of in and around the box and not really doing anything, he's doing a step over, stopping, don't know where to pass. And then he just chips a ball into the back post. Yeah. Very good, very good ball. But it wasn't an assist for him. It was someone else hit the ball afterwards.
He makes it though, doesn't he?
He makes the goal. To be fair, though, Liam Cullen still has to do a lot of work heading that back across the goal. Now, we thought in the stands that Liam Cullen had scored, and I didn't know how he got in from that angle, but obviously Jerry Yates actually gets the tap in the end, which nearly missed, but he got it. That fair play to Liam Cullen. Back post header straight across, and Jerry Yates had an easy tap in for 1-1. But Patterson, I think he's kind of been a little bit reborn in recent weeks.
I think, I was going to say, I think we needed to talk about Patterson, really, because I think since the window shut, would you say? Or, well, definitely since we started sort of picking up wins, he's been like a new player.
Since the formation change, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair. I think he's been like he was when he first came here. He's been outstanding. He's created that. I know we'll come on the ball he plays for the last goal.
Yeah.
And in every game, it literally looks like you've got to carry him off because he looks like he's wrecked.
I know.
He does. Fairness to him, he's been a revelation since the change of formation.
Yeah, he had a one-on-one. It was a through ball or something, and he was running onto it. I don't know, who was like over the top from some sort of set play that Plymouth had in our end that we cleared, and he was running onto it against the goalkeeper, and maybe half backed out last minute, and he had a lot of stick from the away end saying, you're half-assed. I think it was maybe either 1-1 or 2-1 at this point. 2-1 I think it was, because that would have finished the game off. But you could tell he was knackered at that point. And I actually never want to see anyone backing out of a challenge like that. I think and he's come out and spoke about this week now, the injury issues he had that kind of resulted in his poor season last year. Maybe if that's in the back of his mind, maybe you can understand it a little bit. because he was talking in the media saying how all these little niggly injuries, he was never 100% fit last year, and it really did affect his performances, and he just couldn't get a run in the team, couldn't get any confidence, and couldn't get going. I don't know if you've seen the interview.
I haven't seen it yet. No, I haven't seen it. I haven't picked up on much since I come back, to be honest. But
yeah, he said that's largely what happened last year. He said the Coventry links that came in January were a load of rubbish, and I was never on the cards.
Yeah,
and he was talking about
we said at the time, didn't we? You never know what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, from the outside, it was easy to look like, he didn't want to play and didn't want to be there, and that seemed obvious at the time. But you never know, do you? And it's just mad to think that even this year, in the window, we were fully expecting him to go.
Well, he did say apparently he wasn't in the plans in the summer. He did say that in the interview as well. And I guess the change, and Chan was still here at that time, and he was clearly Duff's preferred choice in what was the old behind the two strikers system that he was playing, or a part of a midfield three, I guess, a little bit more advanced. But Cham went, Patterson started that first game, but ultimately I think has now come into his own and shown he's got a position in the team based on the formation change, for more so than not, because he was getting operated in one of a midfield three, and that wasn't quite his position. But I can understand why maybe he was going to get moved on based on that. But I don't think he's going to now, although his contract's up at the end of this season.
That's probably why he's playing well again.
Yeah, maybe. He says he wants to stay, but I guess we'll see what happens. His
whatever
age
works
isn't on his side.
Whatever works for him, it's great, because he's been class in the last couple of weeks. He's been amazing.
I feel like he'll be 32 going into next season.
And again, that ball he plays for the third goal for Key is just absolute
ridiculous
ball. Kevin De Bruyne pass, that is.
Let's talk about that, because there's a couple of things from that goal. Liam Walsh has come back and made his first appearance of the season. He plays the ball across to Patterson. A good little bit of vision from him, considering his lack of game time as well. Just want to credit that, because he can definitely offer something going forward now, and I think he showed that. Hasn't been rushed back. He's been on the bench for a couple of games. Made not a difference, but he made an impact here playing that ball. But the ball's running along Patterson, and I think he just has one glance to his right.
Yeah.
All he will see if you do a freeze frame when he glances up is a defender with a Swansea player running the other side of the defender. Now, ultimately, if you place that ball in a straight line, it gets intercepted. But with his weaker left foot, manages to whip a low pass or cross from literally the left-hand side of the pitch to the right-hand side of the box. It's such an exquisite ball in there, like whipped, like the curl on it. The curl is so vital, because that's what gets it around the defender.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, Josh Key was the one that's running in. It's further back than the defence to stay onside, and the ball's got to get around the defender and fall into the path of Josh Key, and it does. Josh Key, it's the first time, and I guess you could say written in the stars that former Exeter player scoring against Plymouth. But
it's inch perfect. I think on that goal as well, similar to the second one. Well, not similar to the second one for different reasons, but I think like Josh Key deserved that goal just for all of his performances, even when we were, even when we were rock bottom and everyone thought we were rubbish and Duff was on the verge of getting sacked and all this. I thought Key was still a standout player this season. I just think he's been outstanding, and I think we might come on to it probably in another podcast further down the line. But I think he's going to single-handedly send Ashby back from his loan, because I don't think he's getting anywhere near that team with Key there.
He came on, Ashby did, in this game, but at right winger.
Yeah, he's going to go back in January, because there's no way Newcastle. He came with so much hype.
I know.
I don't know why they did. Again, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, if he's not 100% fit or whatever. But I think what we saw of him at the start of the season and what we've seen from Key, and we said it on the podcast, like they were playing Key at left back, and we were saying like we just love for him to have a chance.
Yeah.
At right
they were
back.
Accommodating Ashby because he had all the hype, but ultimately Key was putting in the performances. And
now look at him playing in his preferred position. He's just like.
I don't mind saying it, but ultimately Key is our player and Ashby is not. So if one of them, if Key's playing better, I'd rather him get all the development time on the pitch. And if it means Ashby's got to go back and maybe we're short in that position again, although Bashir Humphreys can slot in there, so maybe it's not end of the world. We've seen Darlin do a job there last season if it's needed. So it wouldn't bother me one bit. I think if Key can continue in the team, he's he's got a big career ahead of him, and we were told that maybe he was a bit raw coming into the season, and playing week in, week out at a higher level was only going to make him a better player. And early days, and it already is having that impact. So
he's brilliant. He's been brilliant so far.
He'd be one. We talk about who's going to be the next player to be sold.
It's in
early days, but
well, you can only comment on what you've seen so far, and it's heading in that direction, isn't it? Like things can always change, but I mean, what we've seen so far, I'm so impressed with him. Like even when he was playing out of position, he was clearly like one of the better signings that we've made, and and it's just going back to like you were saying about even with the Ashby thing, like I actually forgot that they brought him on in this game, but in previous games, they weren't even bringing him on. Like when a left back was injured, they were bringing Timon on, weren't they? Or Timon, however you say his name, and even Josh, you'd think they'd revert back and maybe put Key on the left and Ashby on the right.
But Key went off injured, didn't they? And he didn't come on then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you're thinking like it's a bit of an odd one. So it doesn't look like he's in the plans at the moment. But
well, I mean, he had a couple of tough games, didn't he? And I think maybe Duff has.
It's like the complete reverse of last year. We've got we've got like 2 right backs now, and one of them's too good for the other one to play. Last year we didn't have one.
Yeah, no, it definitely. Okay, the other goal then, which was the second goal, was scored by Ollie Cooper. Mac Rhymes getting the assist. Now, 2 things from this. We'll talk about Ollie Cooper in a second. Mac Rhymes. We spoke recently about Duff not getting the best out of Mac Rhymes. Maybe is part of the issue why Swansea had a slow start to the season, didn't look good. Really we were poor when we all know about it. A lot of negativity and all that, but Mac Rhymes was not having a good time. I think he's been very good in the last few games, and ultimately the results have come. So direct correlation. I said maybe he wasn't so on board with what Duff was trying to do and stuck in the way that Russell Martin wanted him to play, more protecting the ball, recycling it, which he still does. But now I feel like he's also added breaking through the lines, and even if it's with a run or with a pass to his game, and that directness, and he can play it, he can be quite clinical with it, is adding a new dimension to him, our midfield, and ultimately helping us get on the front foot. And I think the ball he plays to Ollie Cooper, as much as it's not a world beater of a pass, Ollie Cooper is in a bit of space, not too far away from the centre circle when he picks the ball up, and he can turn and run into the space that he ultimately runs into to score the goal. But last year under Russell Martin, I don't think Mac Rhymes would play that pass because it's not really going anywhere. You wouldn't play the pass thinking, right, Cooper have a turn and run, because that's not what you would do under Russell Martin. So maybe you've seen a difference there. It wasn't the easiest pass to play, and I think he deserves a bit of credit for looking.
It's different. I think he's getting. Yeah. I think the idea is that they get it forward a bit more quicker. In this style, I think we're starting to see it a bit more. That they're not direct. I wouldn't say we're not necessarily playing direct football.
I just mean versus Russell Martin.
Yeah. I think just comparison of the styles. Yeah, I think it's just different. We look to get the ball forward a little bit quicker, and you see it in that one where he plays that sharp ball forward, and then even in I think it was the Millwall game, wasn't it, where Grimes scored? It seems like that was ages ago now as well, where he was like more forward than he ever seemed to be before. So I think you're starting to see like the differences now, especially they started to pick up wins. You're starting to see like little subtle differences of what Duff's trying to do. So
exactly. I got a kind of a stat that backs that up as well. But in the first half when we were 1-0 down, Mac Rhymes was from goal kicks, running through from the midfield, breaking the defensive line to give an option for a goal kick. You would never see him doing that before.
No,
he would be in between the defence, picking the ball up. So,
but that's what you want from, I guess, any new manager that comes in. There's always going to be, you want to see the differences. You want to see how they're implementing their own style. And I remember saying, we did a podcast, I think, after the transfer window, and everyone at the time was slating Duff and saying, whatever, and we were rubbish. And I just thought, like, you've got to give him a bit of time with the new players. And everyone seemed to think that he was going to stick with the 2 up front with the 5 at the back. And I was thinking, I wonder if he is going to be one of those coaches where, like Steve Cooper in a way, not the same style of football, but in a way where he just like found a style to fit the players that he's got rather than sticking with his formation.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's what he's done. I know it's early doors, but it seems like he had all these new players in. He was trying to fit them in the system that he likes to play. obviously didn't work, and now he seems to have found the formula. Like we've seen like Grimes coming into his own. Patterson in particular, Lowe has been amazing since he's sort of changed it. And I just think like I'm gonna give him all the credit because I think he's changed the system to fit the players he's got, like a good manager does.
Yeah, and to back up, I think a lot of people were saying, "Oh, we're too direct, going long ball." Or he wants to focus on set pieces. Swansea way is dead. I know a lot of people don't think this anymore, but the stats that we see, and NT Stats on Twitter tweet a lot of things and tag us in it. But the slowest attacking sides in the 92 and Europe's top 5 leagues this season by direct speed. Now, it doesn't say what the measurement of the direct speed is, but the top 7 is Notts County, Man City, Wigan, Burnley, Monza, Arsenal, Swansea. So maybe you could read this thinking that's a bad thing list to be on, but it's actually not, depending on how you want to play. You've got Man City, you've got Arsenal on the list. They want a bit of patient build-up play, work the space, try and find an opportunity. You would expect a Russell Martin Southampton team wants to be on this list. People saying the Swansea way is dead and Duff isn't going down that route. That is evidence, and the number we are is 1.51. That is not the case. We can score on a transition and a bit of a counter-attack, as we did with the Josh Keat goal. But ultimately, we are still trying to work a goal, using a little bit of patience and I think a little bit faster in terms of breaking the teams down, but it still can take a lot of passes, long team goals. I think there has been a few of those where there's been like 30 odd pass sequences before we've scored recently.
Yeah.
And this is what that stat is saying, basically. We might, you're not going to rush in.
Balance. That's what we hoped for at the start of the season when Duff came in. We hoped that, and when we did a video, didn't we? I remember we was sort of all saying the same thing, that we hoped that. Yeah, we like, we all like the possession football. That's great, but it's got to be different because, it's got to be. At times you've got to be direct and you've got to score goals. At times you've got to be able to mix it up, and that's what we're still playing the football. I think like the framework, the basic is this is how we're going to play. We're going to play with the possession football, as you've shown there with our stat. That's our base. But if there's opportunities to get the ball forward and be more direct and we can score more goals, then that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, sometimes it's called passing for the sake of it. But ultimately, the last 4 games for Swansea read as 11 goals scored and 2 conceded. If you want to include the QPR game, then you say 12 goals and 3 conceded. So they're scoring goals quite regularly at the moment. I know things can change. But something's working definitely. And we've got a hard game coming up next, which we will move on to in a sec. Actually wanted one more thing I didn't say about Ollie Cooper. We've said this season he's struggled a bit, which we were surprised at. But maybe the tide's turning a bit there. I think he had quite a good game. He made an instant impact when he came on here. He scored with basically a second touch of the ball, or a second sort of moment with having the ball, because he had 2 runs basically is what he had, and it was a good goal from outside the box as well. He took an opportunity, he had the chance and he took it, and I think that's going to do him world of good for his confidence.
Sorry, no, I was only going to say that I think, like, I won't sugarcoat it. I thought he'd been awful this season. That might be a bit harsh, but I thought he'd been absolutely terrible. I mean, what I've seen, I think even in up to the Norwich game, every time he played, he just seemed to lose the ball all the time. I'd never seen him lose so much ball, and he just wasn't adding anything to the squad. Now, he didn't get into the Wales squad.
Rob Page clearly thinks the same as you, because he can't get into the Wales squad anymore.
Yeah, but maybe that was the kick that he needed. He wasn't in the Wales squad, and he came out with a point to prove against Plymouth, and he scored. That goal was lovely. Or even Duff maybe, or someone has said, like, look, it's not good enough. And he's come out with a point to prove, and he's done it. So hopefully, you said, hopefully that does his confidence a world of good now, and we'll see the Cooper from last year.
Well, he's not starting games. You've got Liam Cullen playing on the wing ahead of him, where you'd think would be more natural for Ollie Cooper to be there. So you've got a point to prove to get himself back into the starting lineup, and that's the way to do it, to be fair to him. Yeah. Starting lineup for Swansea and back in the Wales squad. Two goals for him to kind of achieve. He had his breakthrough season for us really last year, and I think it is hard sometimes with young players to maintain what they provide for a long time. So if he's had a bit of a drop off, I guess fair enough. Let's see if he can get back up, and I'm sure he will, because what we saw last season, I have no doubt that he still can offer.
Oh, he's still a good player. He just had, but I think like it was the back end of last season, he wasn't really getting into the team, was he either? And he was quiet.
No.
And then I think like what we've seen him in this year has not been great until that Plymouth game. So hopefully, hopefully.
I'm wondering if the fact he didn't get called up to the World Cup and there was all that drama, and then he kind of did, but wasn't really part of the squad.
Yeah, I don't think
affected him.
Yeah, I don't think that.
Because he did play really well. We all thought he deserved to go, and then he didn't really. He went, but he didn't go. I wonder if that affected him.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Speaking of Wales, obviously a massive result beating Croatia this week.
Yeah.
Puts them. They got a chance now of qualifying for the World Cup, and I had written them all but off. I'm not going to lie, I had written them off under Rob Page.
There's still work to do, though, isn't there?
Yeah, but it's in their own hands, isn't it? Now, technically.
Yeah, they've got to win both games, haven't they?
We also saw Liam Cullum pick up his first Wales cap against, was it Andorra?
No, Gibraltar, wasn't it?
Gibraltar, sorry.
Yeah.
My mistake. I got a bit bored watching the game, and the second half was awful.
It was a bit of an odd friendly, wasn't it, Gibraltar?
Well, I just don't understand the point of it. What's the point? It's valuable for a team like Gibraltar. I understand that.
I think it was more valuable that it was played in Wrexham. I think that was the main reason for it. I think to get a game in North Wales, which is fair. I'm all for that.
Does it have to be Gibraltar though? I'm not trying to look. I just think even for Gibraltar, this team's probably more akin to their level. That would probably give, they were just defending for 90 minutes. They was defending, training, exercise for them, and for Wales, training in terms of the opposite to try and break that down. So, yeah, I understand it when you're in the same group in the sort of in the qualifiers or whatever as teams like that, but organising friendlies, at least you should go away to that sort of team. I think.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. But I think I read a stat somewhere when because I was away when the game was on. But I think that Gibraltar didn't have a shot in the game.
I just feel like it's a waste of a slot. International breaks can be a distraction at the best of times, and you're lining up. I know we ended up winning the game against Croatia, but if you're using that as the warm up for a massive game, that was the game against Croatia. I don't think Gibraltar's the team you want.
Yeah, well, it worked anyway because they won both games. I think they got to plug the gap, because I think everybody plays two games, don't they, in the window. So sometimes you play two qualifiers, and I think obviously this time round it worked out that we played one friendly, one qualifier. So I don't know if next time it'll be we play one on the Thursday and one on the. I think we play Turkey at home on the Tuesday. So I imagine we might play Friday night or Saturday Armenia, and then Turkey on the Tuesday and two qualifiers. So we'll see.
Okay, well, let's move on to this week on the pitch. So as I said, within the next week there's two home games to look forward to. You can get a lovely cardboard pint at the Swansea.com stadium. Firstly against Leicester on Saturday the 21st of October at 3 p.m. kickoff, and secondly on Tuesday the 24th at 7:45 against Watford. Now Leicester obviously currently sitting very pretty, top of the league, 30 points, 10 wins, 1 loss, which was against Hull, I think, plus 17 goal difference in 11 games. Ipswich are the only ones that are kind of staying with them on 28 points, and then third place is 10 points behind Leicester after 11 games. Now this is going to be a hard match. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's a great acid test for where we are, because we couldn't be coming into this game more on a high. You've got top of the league. Leicester are going to win the league, and they're definitely going to get promoted. They're basically a Premier League squad, so I think it's a great test for us. I'm really looking forward to playing them. And who knows? Who knows? I think we can beat anybody at home when we're playing well. So, but let's not. Also, let's not be duff out and football's crap if a Premier League team comes down and beats us. Because it's just going to be a hard game.
I think this is a bonus game where
It is
I'm
a
not.
bonus
Look,
game.
I don't think
It
we
is
can
a bonus
expect anything from this game, and if we can get even a draw, that is a massive positive. If we can
I
get a
think
draw
so,
against Leicester, we're one of 2 teams in 12 teams that got something against them, and that can only be a good thing going forward for the
Not
rest of
many
our
teams
season.
are going to take points off them this year.
No,
Their squad is ridiculous.
so it's a massive test. It would be amazing if we can rise to it and get something out of it. And if we don't, we regroup and we look ahead to Watford, which is a far more reasonable game to expect a win from based on current positions and form. I was surprised to see Watford where they are. They're sitting 20th in the league, 5 points below us. We were worried about a relegation battle a couple of weeks ago. They're only 2 points ahead of the playoffs now. And they're still in their 3rd year, I want to say, of parachute payments. Now, I found out yesterday, and you'll hear all this if you watch the preview video, which will go out ahead, after the Leicester game. But they basically took loans against their parachutes and have already spent all their money. So they basically had to get rid of half their squad in the summer, haven't really brought anyone in. They didn't get a load of loans from, is it Udinese in Italy they are linked with, that they were expecting to have in. So they're in a bit of a dire space at the moment. They're really not loving life. Very, very... I mean, they have already decided they've lost this game. Now, I will say, in their version of the pre-match video, which I jumped on for them, they had a fan do like a predictions thing, and they made a little video to go along with his prediction. Quite funny, but he went out to Monkstown in Ireland, took a picture of Gary Monk with him, and predicted the Swans were going to win 4-1.
I like it, I'll take that.
I take that as well. Obviously, we beat them 4-0 in the last fixture, which was in, January?
Yeah, that came out of
December.
nowhere, didn't it? That one was when we were in a really poor run and Watford were playing well, and then we won 4-0 out of nothing.
Yeah, did the double on them last year, and the year before we won 1 each. So we've had a good recent record against them.
We've got still though. I think like it's a hard game, Watford. We've got some hard fixtures coming up in this run between this international break and the next one. We've got.
It is a hard game.
Really hard fixtures.
But I think what they were trying to say, is you probably think it's a hard game based on the recent name Watford.
Yeah,
they are not that team right now. That's what they were kind of getting across. But
fair enough.
I don't want to write them off, obviously. But
No.
based on form, it's one we've got to be targeting as a 3 points, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've got to, because then we've got Blackburn away and Sunderland home and then Ipswich away. So that's
Blackburn are kind of falling off a cliff, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we know how
Sunderland's
well
difficult.
And then after that, then we've got like Hull and Leeds. There's no easy game, but we just gotta. Hopefully, we can pick up some more points. I think like on the form as a whole, though, I think looking back at the beginning, I think we talked about it, didn't we? When we were messaging when we were both away, but you look now back to the start of the season. I think if we hadn't, in hindsight, if we hadn't played Cardiff and Bristol early on in the season, probably doesn't look as bad as it was. Like, because we always, last couple of seasons, we've started slow. And then we always play Cardiff, like now, after this international break. Now, you can imagine if we were playing Cardiff this week, after a run of 4 wins, I think it would be very different than when we played them the first time. And I'm not I'm not saying like, oh, the whole season's torn up because we lost the Cardiff.
Aaron Ramsey's injured for a start.
Well, no, I just, it's just like, I think that's the perspective that the fans have got. Like, if we didn't play very well against Bristol City and Cardiff, it was like, oh my God, the season's over and Duff's rubbish and get him out and all this and everything's a disaster. And I think it's just timing. Like, if we tend to play them in October, which is when we start to pick up form, which has been the same with the last 2 managers, I think, when we start to pick up form in the October time when we do play Cardiff. So I think like now, if we were playing them when we do normally play them in October, if Saturday was Swans Cardiff, it would be very different. Very different perspective, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. But it is what it is. We've got to put it right next time. But yeah, big week for Swansea. 2 home games. I want to say I want 3 points. 4 or above will be massive.
Yeah.
And I'm not downplaying. I'm not like being pessimistic. I just think Leicester, let's be realistic on that one. But 3 points would be, that's what I think we should get. Anything above massive bonus and really can push on if that is the case. Currently sitting 12th in the league, 15 points after 11 games, plus 4 goal difference. We are 3 points off the playoffs and 5 points off relegation. So that's how quick things can turn.
But we've got it's 5 games now between now and the next international break. I think if we can sort of, I'm not expecting us to win all 5, and that'll be 9 in a row then, wouldn't it? But if we can get 2 or 3 wins, I think that'll sort of keep us in the mix, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, and look, we beat Norwich, who are still 7th and 2 points ahead of us, and that was a good victory for us. So there's no reason why we can't push on with some of these games.
Yeah, the only thing I touched on it a little bit when I said we're playing Leicester, I'd worry that keeping up this level of form is hard, isn't it? I mean, it's not going to happen all season. We're not going to carry on winning all these games now.
Say the same for them.
Well, yeah, no, I know that, but I'm just meaning that for us in general. At some point, we are probably going to have another bad performance somewhere, and we're going to lose somewhere. I just hope now it's not just going to be a case of all season of like, we're rubbish, Duff out, it's not working. Oh, we're playing really well, Duff's doing well. Yeah, we're fair play to him. Oh, we're playing rubbish again, Duff out. Like, I think, and I worry about the Leicester game because realistically, if Leicester turn up and play an absolute stormer of a game, they could beat us 3-0, couldn't they? 4-0 because of the squad they've got. And I just hope that we manage expectations really. But I think that's asking a lot.
I'm sure it will be a good game on Saturday. So let us know if you're going down to it and maybe what your predictions are for both Leicester and Watford this week. Okay, not so much more to go over. A couple of things in the news and rumours. I've already spoken about Jamie Patterson. Not really much more to say there. Said about his contract up in the summer. That'll be an interesting one. There's a few other players as well. I'm not going to go into that today. Liam Cullen getting his first Wales cap. But the other thing I want to mention is Charlie Patino. Apparently, this is just rumours, by the way. Rumours now, not any concrete information. But he was under the impression this summer he was going to be sold and not loaned out. And he's not really looking to extend his stay at Arsenal. When he returns to them at the end of this season, he will have 12 months left on his deal. Just wondering if that's something that Swansea can explore based on his start so far. He's been very complimentary of the club. He said when he played against Swansea last season, it was the most difficult game of his career. And now he's here and seems to be thriving under Michael Duff and enjoying his football. So what do you think? Yeah,
I mean, bloody hell, if it was on the table, I'd definitely take him. How did he play, do you think, against Plymouth? Was he all right?
He's good.
I didn't think he had a great game against Norwich.
I just think he came and hit the ground running in the early few games when he was here. And I think now the team's generally playing better. He's not standing out.
Yeah, I think you're spot on.
But I don't think that's a negative on him. No, he's working well with Mac. Ultimately, if he's a bit quieter and not like the one that we go to say he was class, but you're getting Mac Rhymes on top form alongside him, we've probably got a better deal overall. But I think he's doing a good job for the team, and the whole team's playing well. So he's not necessarily standing out like one or two others might be, but he's also not doing really anything on the other end either.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on there. I think, but yeah, like going back to what you said, I'd definitely take him if it was on the cards. I think in other news as well, I think it's the fans forum tonight, isn't it? When we're recording, I think that's tonight, so that'll be interesting to watch, and then maybe we'll
talk about that next week.
Talk about that next week to see what they say, because that'll be good.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. I can't remember what I was going to say. I was going to say something else about Charlie Patino, but this slipped my mind.
Sorry, we're butting in with the fans.
I don't think it was that important, really. It's gone. It's gone. Oh, that's what it was. He's not 90-minute players, I think. I know people were criticising his substitutions, but it's happening like every week. So I feel like...
I think you're right. Yeah, I don't think he is. He does get taken off. Yeah, but he does seem to lose a bit of...
Second half, he kind of gets a bit quieter.
Fades out.
So it makes sense. He fades out. He is still a youngster, don't forget. Like, maybe he's just not quite there yet, and that's fine. That's completely fine. So we've got a squad for... Why you're allowed to use 5 subs, Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask, and this is kind of the last thing really before we end the video. So yesterday when I recorded the preview video for Watford with those lads, and I said they were a hell of a laugh, they have a player who the name is a bit tricky to pronounce. so they've resorted to calling him Dave. Now, they were asking me about a forward we signed from France that had an interesting name that they couldn't pronounce. So I gave my best rendition of Mikola Kujarevic, and they were impressed. But ultimately, it seemed like we got into the conversation a little bit about, do you know what, why doesn't every club have a player that they just call Dave because they got a bit of a tricky name? So
wasn't it Zinchenko they called Dave at Man City?
Oh, I don't know, but I didn't know that was a thing, but maybe we can make it a thing. But I said to put a Welsh slant on this thing of calling your players Dave, that we should be calling Mikola Kujarevic Dai from now on.
There we go. I'm on board.
So that's what we're going to call him. So for anyone listening, and I guess we'll have to reiterate this for people who might not be watching this episode or got this far, but we might be referring to Kujarevic as Dai from now on. So if we say, oh, Dai come off the bench and scored hell of a header. Oh, Dai come off the bench and scored a worldie. We're talking about Kujarevic. Yeah. So, but yeah, I like that idea. So
I'm on board.
Maybe we can have a fun episode, one international break, and go through the years about past players that would have been called Dai.
Who would have had Dai over the years, yeah.
Who would have had Dwight Tiendali?
Tiendali would have been Dai, yeah.
I
think we haven't had that many, have we, with hard names to pronounce. Oh, I think
Camberley.
Latterboard, was definitely a contender to be Dai.
Yeah. Camberley.
Yeah, he would have been Dai, 100%.
I'm trying to think more recently in the Premier League. Modu Barrow.
Yeah.
Dai up a wing. Slippery on the ball. Leave your comments below what players in the past would have been called Dai for Swansea City. So, yeah. On that note, I think we'll call it a day. So it's been good to have you back, Lee. Hopefully we have some wins to talk about next week. And yeah, we'll see what comes up with the fans forum. As always then, don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all of our stuff that we put out on YouTube, and follow if you're listening on any of the podcast platforms. Leave us a 5-star review if you're feeling kind on Apple or on Spotify. I think you can leave 5 stars these days. And click the like button on YouTube as well. Really appreciate it. And let us know in the comments everything we spoke about, what you think about what's going on at the moment in Swansea City. And I guess we shall see you in the next video. So thanks for listening as always, and goodbye for now.
See you soon.